Hey everyone. Okay, so the term AI agents, it's everywhere, right? And it sounds super complex, like you'd need a giant team at a massive company to even touch it. And honestly, I thought the exact same thing. But then I got curious, started digging around, and I had this realization. The basic idea behind it? It's something I can build. And more importantly, it's something you can build. So today, I'm going to walk you through step by step how I built my very first, very simple AI agent. Let's just demystify this whole thing together.
All right, before we dive into a single line of code, you have to see the final product. Just check this out. All I did was type a totally normal sentence, "I'm going to Amsterdam this Sunday." And boom, my little agent here figured everything out. It knew the city, it calculated the right date for Sunday, it went out and grabbed live weather data, and then it even used the AI to give me a little recommendation. And that right there is the magic of an agent. It takes a simple request and turns it into this multi-step plan to get you a real-world answer. So let's break down how we actually do this.
Okay, so to even begin to build this, I had to have this one huge realization. It was my big aha moment, you know? And it all boils down to understanding what a large language model can do, and maybe more importantly, what it can't do by itself. I started thinking of it like this. A model, like Google's Gemini or any of the big ones, it's basically this brilliant brain, but it's stuck in a box. It's super smart, but its knowledge is frozen in time. It only knows what it was trained on, which is just a snapshot of the internet from the past. It doesn't have a live internet connection. It has no clue what the weather is in Amsterdam right now, or what it's going to be on Sunday. It just can't get live data. And once that single limitation really clicked for me, everything else just fell into place.
So, what's the solution? Well, it's this. An AI agent isn't just the AI brain. It's the brain, the LLM, plus a set of tools, like APIs that can get that live data. And my job as a developer, the code I wrote, it's just the glue. That's it. It's the glue that connects that brain to its tools. See, I'm not building the brain, and I'm not building the tools. I'm just the orchestrator making them talk to each other.
Okay, so with that big idea in my head, I knew I just needed to pull together three main parts to build my little weather assistant. And when you break it down like this, it's actually surprisingly straightforward. Okay, part one, the brain. I just needed access to an LLM through an API. For this project, I used Google's Gemini. This is the part that's just amazing at understanding what we mean when we type something. Part two, the tool. I needed a way to get real live weather data. I found this great free service called OpenMedio that has a really simple API for that. And then part three, and this is really the key, I needed my code. I used Python to write a script that acts as the agent, the middleman that manages the whole conversation between the brain and the tool.
All right, let's get our hands dirty and look at the code. So the very first hurdle we have to clear is this. How do you take a messy human question like, what's the weather in Paris tomorrow afternoon, and turn it into clean, structured data that a computer can actually understand and use? Well, turns out, this is the perfect first job for our LLM.
So the first bit of code here is just basic setup stuff, importing the libraries I'm going to need, setting up my API key so I can actually talk to the Gemini model, and then, of course, grabbing the user's question. Oh, and I also feed the model today's date. That's a little trick so it can figure out what I mean by today or tomorrow. Now this prompt, this is really the first big trick. See, I'm not asking the AI, what's the weather? No, I'm giving it a totally new job. I'm telling it, your job is to be a structured data extractor. I'm telling it exactly what to look for, the city, the date, and the hour. And this is super important. I'm telling it to return that info only as a clean JSON object. That way, I get back something my code can instantly work with. No mess.
Yeah, and here's a little pro tip you learn pretty quickly when you start working with LLMs. Their output isn't always, shall we say, perfectly clean. Sometimes there's extra text. So I added this little block of code to act as a cleanup crew. All it does is make sure I can reliably find and pull out just the JSON part from the model's response. It just makes the whole script way more robust.
Okay, so mission accomplished on part one. We've used the brain to turn messy human language into nice, clean, structured data. So now we're ready for the next big phase, using that data to call our tool, that live weather API. This is the moment our agent actually starts interacting with the real, live world.
So here's a fun little problem. The weather API, it doesn't want a city name like Amsterdam. It needs a super precise location, latitude and longitude. So to solve that, I built this little helper function called get_coordinates. It takes the city name that the AI gave us,
It calls a second, totally different API, a free geocoding one, and it gets back the exact coordinates we need. It's a perfect example of how you can chain multiple tools together to get a job done. And now for the main event, our main tool. This is the getForecast function. Now that we have the coordinates and the date, we can finally call the weather API. And check out how the URL is put together. It's not static, it's built dynamically, on the fly, using all the pieces of data we've gathered so far. This tells the API exactly what location we want and exactly what data we need back.
So, the weather API gives us a whole bunch of data, like the hourly temperature for the entire day. But our user might only care about, say, 3 p.m. So this little piece of logic I wrote here, it's pretty smart. It just searches through all that data to find the exact hourly temperature the user was asking about. It's this kind of little detail work that really makes the agent feel intelligent.
And the very last thing this function does is basically tidy everything up. It takes all that raw, kind of messy data from the API and packages it neatly. I create this new, clean dictionary called Forecast Summary, and it only has the stuff we really care about: the daily min and max temp, total precipitation, and that specific hourly temperature we just found. Now this nice, tidy summary is ready for the final step.
Okay, let's recap. We've talked to the brain, we've used our tools to get live data, we have all the facts, but raw data isn't very helpful for a person. It's just numbers. So for the grand finale, the final polish, we're going to go back to the brain one last time.
So for this final step, I write a second prompt, but this time it's different. Instead of asking the AI a question, I'm giving it information. I'm feeding it all the nice structured data we just collected. I literally lay out all the facts for it, and then I give it one simple command: generate a very short, one-line recommendation. See, I'm using the LLM for what it does best, taking a bunch of facts and synthesizing them into natural-sounding language.
And here it is, the grand finale. These last few lines of code just take all that beautiful, structured data we've worked so hard to get, and they just format it nicely for the user. We print out the location, the date, the temperatures, and then, right at the end, that clean one-line recommendation we just got back from Gemini. And this is what creates that final output we saw right at the start. It all comes full circle.
Okay, so let's zoom out from the code for a second. Let's talk about the big takeaway from me from this whole project, because it really did change how I think about building things with AI.
The moment I finally saw that complete output print to my screen, that was it. That was the big realization. I wasn't building an AI from scratch. Not at all. I was just being a smart orchestrator. My Python script, my agent, it was like a conductor of an orchestra. It was telling the genius brain when to think, and it was telling the practical tools when to go out and do something. My code was just the essential link that made them all work together in harmony.
You can really boil this entire process down to a simple little loop, right? My code kicks things off. The AI figures out it needs help, it needs a tool, my code goes and runs that tool to get the answer, and then finally, my code hands that new fact back to the AI so it can finish the conversation. And the best part? You can just keep adding more tools to this exact same loop. Maybe a tool to send an email or one to check your calendar. The pattern? It's exactly the same.
So I really hope this whole walkthrough helped pull back the curtain a little bit. Building an AI agent, it's not some kind of impossible magic. It's really just about orchestrating a clever conversation between different services. And listen, if I can do this, you absolutely can too. So that really only leaves one question, doesn't it? What's the first agent you're going to try and build? I'd love to hear your ideas. Thanks so much for watching.